Hey there. Okay, in this next video, we will add a domain controller to the forest, and we'll just poke around Active Directory sites and services and make a few small changes in there. What we've done so far is we have just in the previous video created the lab.local domain and the first domain controller. DC2 is a standalone server with the Active Directory directory services role, and it's not on a domain yet. So what we'll do in this video is add the DC to the domain, and I'll explain why we want to have at least two. And we'll, like I mentioned, poke around Active Directory sites and services. We'll create a subnet and edit the default site name and explore around. After this video, I plan to show how to install Dhcp and configure some of the basics. So we can jump right in here and I'll get the VMs. Okay, so we're at the same spot where we left off in the previous video. This DC is up and running, and what we'll do is we will join this machine DC2-can to the domain, and then we'll promote it to a domain controller. So just to make sure, ping 192.168.10.2 if I remember right. So we can ping it, we can talk to it, and we can join it to the domain. So I'm not going to promote this to a domain controller yet because it is not on the domain. So we can do that up here, click on workgroup, change, and domain, and lab.local. And oops, what did I do wrong here? Let me just see what I did wrong and I'll come back. Oh, right, DNS. Okay, so we'll come out of here for a second. I will make oops, I can disable that too. We don't need the host or internet, so I'm going to disable that. And just to show 192.168.10.3, and the DNS server is blank, or it's itself. So we have to fix that. You can't resolve lab.local because this server doesn't know what that means yet. 168.10.2. So now when it asks for where is lab.local, this server, which is the DC, will be able to respond. And I can confirm that. Ping lab.local, and that server in the background responds. So now I can join it to the domain. Top secret password. That'll take a second. Oh, that's done. And then we'll have to reboot. And restart now. I'll pause the video and come back when it's done. Okay, so it came back up. And if we notice, there's no domain mentioned here, so we don't know exactly where we're logging into. I know we're going to be logging into the local user account. And that's not what we want because we want to promote this to a DC. So what we have to do is sign into lab. You see where it says at the bottom there? If I type in administrator, it's going to change to the local account again, so we have to put lab/ in front. And now we're signing into the domain. So technically right now we've created a member server, and then we'll promote it to a DC, and that'll get rid of the local user accounts, just like I showed in the previous video. So I'll pause when this profile is loaded here and come back. One other thing too, just to confirm, if we load Active Directory users and computers, because we have added a computer to the domain, we can see that in the default computer folder. So there's our new computer that's joined to the domain. And when we do the DC promo, it will move over into this OU, just like that one. And in a few minutes here, in the same video, we'll update this site to be a more appropriate name. Okay, so that's loading. I think we'll see up in here after it loads a little warning or notice saying that we can do a DC promote, because it does have the Active Directory services role. There we go. If you don't see this, you can do a DC promote. How else can you do it? That's the easiest way to do it. So click in there. There's other ways, command prompt and PowerShell, but this is much easier. So after that loads, you just want to verify that we're joining it to this domain using the domain account. And for the options, we do want DNS installed on this, and we do want it to be a global catalog. And we need to set up that restore mode password again. And just for simplicity, I'm going to make it the same password as the other DC. And of course you'll want to, additional options. I'm going to use the same options as before and just click next through everything, and the prerequisites will have a couple of warnings, but I know it's safe to ignore those. Again, make sure you document this password somewhere safe. And yeah, so the same warnings as before. Click install. And I will come back when this is complete. Oh yeah, so as this is promoting itself, part of the installation is to replicate or copy some of the data from this domain controller's database and replicate it into this database. Are we done? Okay, yeah, so it's still replicating and setting it up. I'll leave this open and come back in a second. As that's coming back up here, let's see if it's already updated this. Refresh. And it has. It knows we're already in the same site. Well, there is only one site, so there's not much else it can do. While it is rebooting, let's poke around sites and services. So the main reason why you have two domain controllers is redundancy. It does also share the workload, but with this you can reboot one or do updates or turn off a server or fix it, and the other one will take up the slack, and typically you don't have to do anything, it just works. So that's one of the great things about it. It's been around for a long time. The other thing that's changed too, and this has been like that for a while, is that all of your domain controllers can be virtual machines now. That wasn't the case a while ago. You needed at least one physical domain controller, but that's been changed for quite some time now. So in sites and services, here we can see we're connected to that specific DC. If we expand sites, we'll see three different options. We're going to ignore inter-site transports for now and just deal with subnets and the default site. So the first thing we want to do is to change this name, because it we'll need to do that. Well, we don't need to, but it just makes it look nicer, and I'm pretty picky that way. So we're going to call it Victoria, Canada. Or no, we can't. We can't name it this specific name anyways, because it doesn't allow special characters. So we'll abbreviate it in some way. rename, and I like to put the country first because then you can sort it. Canada, I think dash will work. Victoria, and if we expand servers, we see the 2 DCs, and if we expand that, we can see how it replicates with other sites. There aren't any, so we don't see anything. Subnets should be empty, but we do know that the Victoria site has a specific range. So we can specify that using what's it called, Cedar prefix or notation. So 192.168.10.0/24, and we're going to assign that to this site. And now if we edit this, properties, here we can see it's got a subnet, and we can give it a name and description, which I always like to do as well, because when you click on the root on sites, you can see some information here like the location and description. So I'll put that in, because why not? Site, again, I'll put it by country first, Canada, Victoria, office. And for location, I'll put Canada, Victoria. So now when I have all my different countries, I can click on this column and sort it by country, or I can sort it by description, and again, it'll be sorted that way. That's just how I like to do it. So now if we come into our machine, that should be ready. Again, we can't log into the local administrator account because it's a domain controller and we're not in the restore mode. And that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to show you in this video. And next we'll do Dhcp.